All right, friends, we're going to go ahead and get started. Um, this is version 2.0 because we just finished the workshop and then I realized I forgot to record it. So here is part two. So I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen here. Oops, no, that needs to be presented. Present. Oh, wait, present full screen. Here we go. I swear Mercury's in retrograde or something. Technology's not working for me. Okay, so we are here to talk about 2026 marketing strategy, marketing planning, right? We are nearing the end of 2025, and so now is the appropriate time, although really we probably should have been doing this a couple of months ago, the appropriate time to start thinking about the year ahead. So we're going to talk a little bit about auditing our marketing, what worked, what didn't work in 2025. We're going to talk a little bit about setting SMART goals. We're going to talk about planning for your 2025 marketing and how to execute that in a way that removes the overwhelm. So this slide is a little irrelevant, but food for thought because we're re-recording to no one here. A little food for thought is I want you to think about, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did you feel about your 2025 marketing? And think about the one word that really described your marketing this year. And I'll kind of talk about myself. You know, my score for my 2025 marketing was really maybe like a six and a half. I did great the first half of the year. And then those of you who know that I launched a campaign for political office. So after that, like my own marketing kind of took a back seat. There were lots of things. So what that taught me though, and my one word to describe my marketing this year is I'm gonna say like plan better. I'm going to use a hyphen there. But I always say in marketing, failing to plan is planning to fail. Like if you're not planning your marketing, then you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. So, the big and when we talk about goals here, I'll kind of share some of my goals because I'm an oversharer and I like to be transparent. Um, so but that being said, my marketing was reflective of the things that I had going on. I also had team members that had a lot of life happen, and so I kind of picked up the slack. I always put my clients first. My clients are always first. They are the bread and butter. They are who pay my bills. And so if that means that my own marketing takes a back seat for a month or two, that's just what happens. Bandwidth is bandwidth. And I think we as business owners also need to be mindful of our own mental bandwidth. And we don't have to do everything. So when we think about our marketing for this past year, we're looking at 2025. We think about why do we audit our marketing? And I think it's kind of an afterthought for a lot of business owners. And we audit our marketing because one, best practices change, platforms change. I mean, who is still marketing on TikTok? TikTok is not necessarily where I would spend or recommend a lot of time for people. And we saw this, and I say this because a lot of people were like super TikTok excited over the past like 5 years. And then obviously that bill went through and they keep extending the deadline for TikTok to, find a US owner. And so, but there was a week or so that like TikTok was completely offline. Maybe it wasn't a week, maybe it was only a couple of days. But all of these creators who built their audiences and monetize and were providing tens of thousands of dollars per month to their families suddenly lost their platform. And what that taught everyone was that one, you need to diversify. So when I say best practices change, I mean what's working. Monitor your profile regularly. Is it still relevant to your offers? All of these things, like things change. You also need to know what's working and delivering results for you. If I think that like all of my clients are coming from Instagram, which they're not, then I want to make sure that I'm spending time there. If I know that all of my clients come from like Facebook groups or in-person networking, but I'm not out in the community, I'm not in-person networking, then like, okay, it makes sense that my leads have been a little dry lately, right? So you have to know what's working and what's actually delivering results. And I talk to clients a lot about conversion rates. I was actually at on site with a client earlier this week, and we were talking about that, and I was like, and literally like this was the inspiration for the email that I sent to promote this webinar the other day. He described his marketing as a black hole, and that he doesn't really know what's delivering results. um they're not really doing much, but they know that they want to do more. So we recorded a bunch of videos for him, and as a part of my VIP day package, and like he literally was like, okay, what's next? And I was like, okay, well, you're investing in blogs, like what are you doing to push them out? So you have to know what's working and what's not. I was like, where do your sources come from? Like, where do your calls come from? All that kind of fun stuff. And like, they kind of know, but they probably need a little bit of clarity. So we want to know that because we want to know what's not working, what is working, and what maybe needs to be optimized or reworked. So how do we audit our marketing? And I'm going to share a template that I have for this. You know, think about what your main offers were. Think about who your ideal client is. Are you marketing to them specifically? I recently was working with a coach of mine, and I had a huge like light bulb clarity moment. And it really was super impactful because I realized that I wasn't talking to my ideal client. I wasn't giving them the message that they wanted to hear. Like if I want to attract higher paying clients, or if I want to do more consulting, then like I need to have a different message than the like done for you, get rid of the overwhelm of social media, right? So my ideal client and the message that I was sharing they were not aligned, y'all. So I was not marketing to them specifically. Where did I show up? Well, I show up on Facebook, Instagram, Facebook groups, all of the things. Um, and then the what type of content did you post? Are you posting reels? Because we know that reels are a huge driver of any reach on Instagram. Are you doing any sort of video marketing? If I know that I tend to get a lot of leads from email marketing, like why am I not doing more email marketing? Right? So thinking about all these types of things are really like the basis of your audit. Okay. Here we go. So next you want to look at your metrics, and I have a template that I use that I've tracked my year-over-year metric growth. So I know roughly how many followers, and I track it month by month, but also like it's a good way to see like your actions actually moving the needle. If you go a month where you only post to Instagram 3 times a month. And I say that because that was literally my November. I can't expect to grow followers. If I want to say like, oh, I'm going to grow my followers 10% month over month, like, but I'm not posting consistently, then like, whoo, that's something's not working, right? Same with reach. I tell clients, I'm like, we want to make sure that our reach is always growing because that's how we reach new people. Um, are we actually driving traffic to our website? What are the sources of that traffic? All of these kind of things. And then your list growth, because I say like your email list, that is your owned marketing. Those are people that actually want to hear from you. That's probably the warmest audience that you have. And then look at your engagement. Are people actually engaging with your content? If they're not, then like maybe your messaging is off. Maybe that's not where your audience is. All of these things, kind of give us a bigger picture into our marketing, looking at your story views. If you're spending a lot of time posting Instagram stories, like, are you getting good views? What's the click-through rate? All of those things. Shares and DMs are huge on Instagram right now. So like, are you getting shares? Are people DMing you? Those types of things are what you want to be tracking. And then finally your results, because ultimately, like, this is our bottom line. We want to know that we're getting leads and inquiries, discovery calls. We want to check what is the revenue per offer? Did we meet our goals? All that kind of stuff. Those are the metrics that you want to audit to give you that picture into your marketing from 2025. Biggest questions to ask yourself. What were your top wins? What felt like a waste of time and energy? So when I was doing this live, and this is kind of the replay because I forgot to hit record on the first one, I mentioned that something that felt like a waste of time and energy for me was really like in-person workshops, and largely like they did not play into my energy. They are really hard to market. People, especially business owners, just don't have time for that. Like probably 30% of the people who registered for this, like, showed up in person. So I have a 60% rate of not showing up for even online webinars. So I want to make sure that, like, okay, if I get people that are signing up for them, like, I can't replay a online or an in-person workshop, but if I know that even the replay kind of converts people into strategy sessions or whatever it is, whatever program I'm trying to promote, I want to do more of that and less of the thing that's like a drain on energy, not getting people in the door, all of those kind of things. So think about like what you did this year that just felt like a waste of time and energy. And I have said to clients, like, I literally had a strategy session where the owner was like, I don't want to do social media. And I'm like, you don't have to. You don't have to. You can do the bare minimum. And that is okay. Because we have to remember as business owners, like, we are people too. Right? We are people too. And we do not have to play into things that don't feed our own energy. Like, we're not here to be marketers. Like, you're here to focus on your expertise, right? So you don't want to be spending hours and hours a day marketing your business. So then think about, okay, what were these lessons and what am I going to take into 2026? What am I going to do more of? What am I going to do less of? What do I want to keep doing? All of that kind of fun stuff. Think about those lessons that you're taking into 2026. Let's talk about goals. So we know, and I've talked about this probably in most of the workshops that I've done, SMART goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. And I've been preaching SMART goals probably since I worked for Lululemon like 15 years ago. Like, that was when I first heard the term SMART goals. And they also encouraged us to have, these big, hairy, audacious goals, and, goals that seem super unattainable, but like cause you to work harder. So you don't have to have a big, hairy, audacious goal. You don't have to have that. But I do encourage you to have SMART goals. And why are goals important? Because if we don't know where we're going, how do we know how to get there? And how do we know if we've arrived, right? So we want goals that ultimately connect with real business outcomes. And I use the example, and I'm going to use it again, that I have a lot of clients who really just want, they love talking to me about, they want 10,000 followers. And I always ask why. We know that followers are not sales, likes are not necessarily leads. Like, we want goals. And obviously, like, brand awareness is a goal. Like, if you were trying to grow your brand, but like growing your brand to 10,000 followers, which is also a metric that you cannot control, you're putting your goal, your business outcome into the hands of others, right? So you also want your goals to be things that you can take action with, right? So more money, more clients, real business outcomes you want to think about. And I would encourage you, like, if you're going to have like 3 goals, like, think about these 3 areas. You want your visibility goal, maybe that's brand awareness, growing followers by 10, 20, 30%, or growing your list by 50%, 25%, whatever that is. You want engagement goals. How are you engaging that audience? Maybe it's like posting X reels per week or hosting Y webinars per quarter, whatever it is. How are you engaging with your audience? Because engagement leads to revenue, right? So revenue, how many clients are you enrolling? What is your revenue goal per month? If you have a yearly revenue goal that you set as a business owner, then your marketing team should really be breaking that down by month and what actions that are high converting actions, are we taking to accomplish that goal? This is the replay, so this is a little irrelevant, but I would encourage you to write down your top 1 to 3 goals in 2026, not 2025. I should have fixed that before I recorded this, but whatever. And be sure to set measurable goals and set deadlines for yourself because it's going to hold you accountable, right? So now, how do we actually plan out our marketing campaigns? How do we plan for our 2026 marketing? So, our big picture framework, this is our marketing funnel. So, we know that we have our awareness phase, our consideration phase, our conversion phase, and our retention phase. And I put retention here because a current client is less to retain than it is to capture a new client. So we want to make sure that we're doing enough to retain our current clients or re-engage our current audience, retain our current audience, all of that kind of fun stuff. So awareness, we want to make sure that we're reaching new audiences. We can do that through ads, we can do that through reels, we can do that through networking. All of these types of things are going to help us boost that brand awareness. Then we want to have that consideration. What are we doing to nurture their interests? Are we giving them, blog posts or podcasts? What kind of social proof are we producing? Testimonials, all of that kind of stuff that builds that, there's the know, like, and trust. So awareness, people know us. Consideration is kind of that like, and then the conversion is really like they trust us enough to work with us. So what are we doing to drive sales? Are we doing email campaigns? Are you talking about your offers on social media to allow them the opportunity to convert? What are you doing specifically to convert those audiences? Do you have like limited time offers? All those kind of things. Think about in the retail space how they have like you sign up for their email list, you get 10% off your first order. Those kind of things are really like those conversion builders. And then we have retention. We want to keep our customers coming back, whether that's through thank yous. And I'm going to say customers and our audience. We want to keep our audience. We don't want our audience to churn, right? So are we sending thank yous? Do we have loyalty offers? What is your post-purchase email process? How are you asking for reviews? All of those types of things. And I specifically thought about this retention because I was recently doing a strategy session with a client and she's like, I really, really need new clients in the door. And I'm like, well, you probably have a list of, she's a healthcare provider. Like, what is your list of people and how can you re-engage your past clients? And so we're, hopefully putting together an email campaign that's going to kind of re-engage those people that have come to her in the past and get them back on her books. That's retention. How do you re-engage people that have worked with you in the past to convert them again? Here's the thing with marketing. You don't need to do everything, but you want to make sure that you're covering each of these stages intentionally, right? So when we're planning on our marketing, I want you to kind of plan a little bit backwards. I want you to start big picture. I want you to think about your annual 2026 calendar. And I want you to put everything in there from like your seasonal busy times. Like when is your busy season? Like if you're a retail or if you're a service provider, what is that time that's going to be super busy that that you need to stay on top of your marketing? What are your key launches? Are you launching a new program? Do you have goals for that? If I'm one of my big goals is to do my masterclass again, kind of rethought, building the systems that I should have probably had the first time. When am I going to launch that? I know that I'm probably going to do January and probably in July through August, because those of you who know that I'm running for political office. So things like May through June are going to be really busy. And then October through early November are going to be extra busy. So those are the times that I don't want to be doing big launches. So like those are going to be like my awareness, like, okay, I just need to stay top of mind here, right? Um, and then, so then think about quarterly, what are the themes, and maybe it's a theme with your marketing, maybe quarter one, you really want to focus on that visibility, that brand awareness. Maybe quarter two, you want to focus on your list growth. Maybe quarter four, you want to like make sure that you're retaining your clients. You can do themes like that, but you can also do themes like, hey, here is, if I'm an accountant, I'm probably going to have tax tips coming out in like December and maybe October and definitely like March and April leading up to tax dates, like thinking about those quarterly themes. Um, Monthly, you want to think about your main offers to highlight, and those can also be thematic. Maybe the theme of your content, like for me in January, like December, January, it's big strategy and goal setting time for my audience, right? So I want to use that message to promote my strategy sessions and my consulting offer, which I will talk about at the end, because it's kind of new. It's in beta. It's a little bit rethought. I had a couple of early beta test clients earlier this year, and then I kind of rethought it and was really like, how can I really deliver the most value? So anyhow, but so those are monthly themes that you want to build your content around. So you have your annual, kind of mapped out with themes, launches, busy times, all that kind of stuff. Any events that you're doing quarterly, you're also going to have those themes. What are your quarterly goals? And then monthly, you want to have your main offers to highlight. And then we kind of get into the campaign planning. So you want to think about, not on here, but you want to think about your goals for your campaign. You want to think about your primary channels that you're working through. Do you have, I always encourage, like, at the minimum, you want to have one owned channels. That could be like a podcast, a blog, an email newsletter, those kind of things, like content that you own that they're not going to go away. Like, think about your email, think about like Instagram. If Instagram goes away and that's all that you've been doing marketing on, like, what do you do? And one that is not owned, one that is kind of one of those audience builders like Instagram or Facebook, whatever, that you don't necessarily have control over, but you know that you can reach good people. Think about what content you enjoy. If you are not a writer, like, why do you have a blog? Blogs are great for organic SEO. Obviously, most businesses should have blogs, 100%, but they are not the be all end all. Especially as business owners, if you're managing your own marketing, like, what content do you enjoy creating? Is it videos? Is it carousels? Is it newsletter? What is it that you enjoy? Because you want to be mindful. And I talked about this when I did the live session. You want to be mindful of your mindset, right? Like, we are people too. So we have the right to be like, you know what? That doesn't really serve me. Not everyone has to, if your podcasts are time consuming and expensive, and they're not for everyone. I do think that everyone should have a newsletter at this point in time, because email marketing will never be dead. I don't care what other people say, email marketing forever. And you can think about a simply weekly cadence for all of this, just to kind of break it down. And we're going to talk about a little bit of system and how to remove the overwhelm of marketing on the next slide. But that simple weekly cadence could be like, okay, you want 2 value posts or 2 of those like brand awareness reach posts, and maybe they're reels. You want to do something that's educational, that positions you as the expert. One post that really promotes what you offer, your expertise? How do people work with you? And those are never going to be the highest performing posts. Let me tell you, like salesy, and I say salesy kind of with quotation marks, but the posts that are going to talk about what you offer and how people can work with you are never going to be the highest performing ones. And so, and then have one email per week, like, or even every other week, that could be your weekly cadence. And that's going to drive you towards reaching those goals and working towards those campaigns. So when you build your plan, you set your goal. I always encourage, choose that money move, that money making marketing action. Something that's going to grow your visibility. So one visibility move and then one systems move. So like you want to make sure that you're pushing out content that's going to convert people, pushing out content that's going to get you in front of new people, and you want to be doing something that's making it easier, right? Marketing can be overwhelming. I acknowledge this, and I say this as a marketer. But I've also largely been a marketing team of one for large parts of my career, and marketing as a team of one, even with like minimal resources, is just overwhelming. So for my business owners, I see you. I see you. I see you hating to do your own marketing, because you're not a marketer, right? You're an expert in whatever it is that you do, whether that's running a coffee shop, whether that's a therapist, whether that's a lawyer. Like you do not want to be spending your time on marketing. So how do we make it doable? If you don't have the resources to outsource it and you're still doing it yourself, or if you have an assistant that you're working with, no one has your expertise, so you still have to kind of create things. So you can plan for batching time, plan time to just create 4 posts. It should take like an hour to 2 hours, really. Repurposing is your friend. It's like if you're doing a longer form like blog post, you can repurpose that into a reel. You can repurpose that into a newsletter. Like repurposing is your friend. It's your friend. And then create templates to reduce decision fatigue. Like I stopped overthinking all of my graphics. I realized that, you know what, like if I'm going to post carousels, like they are not going to be fancy. They are not going to be designed. They're just going to be text on a solid color background. And you know what, like that's that. So simplifying, like I am not a graphic designer. I hate the graphic design aspect. That's why I have content creators that I work with because they are better designers than me. But also, what's really working on social media these days is simple graphics. People don't want the over design. They want content that connects with people. They want content that tells a story. So create templates. Here's the thing to think about. Obviously, you can't tell me in the comments. What are you going to do less of in 2026? What didn't serve you? What didn't produce results? And what would you like to automate or outsource? Is it automating emails? There are so many programs out there that give you email templates to send out. And I will, if you are curious, when I send out the thank you, like the replay email to this, and you want some of those sources, like I have memberships that I'm a part of that give email templates. I have like weekly email templates. There are memberships that I'm a part of that do weekly trending reels that I use pretty regularly for myself and for some of my clients because it takes the bandwidth off of me to like go scroll for hours and hours on end, like someone else to tell me what's trending is hashtag winning in my book. So think about like, what do you want to automate or outsource? So here's what we talked about. We talked about auditing, finding out what's working, what's not working, what's actually delivering results for your business. We talked about setting clear goals for 2026. We built kind of a simple framework to plan out your 2026. And hopefully you kind of got some ideas to draft or outline your 90-day plan to kind of get you started, right? So this would normally be the time for questions, but here we are. If you have questions, feel free to email me. I will make sure that on this page where this video is going to live, that there is a home a form to either schedule a call with me or, whatever it is, send an email with any follow-up questions, all that kind of fun stuff. Um, how we can work together in 2026. There are 4 ways that I am going to work with people largely in 2026. We will be accepting very limited done for you clients in 2026 just because of everything that I have going on. And my goal is to bring on some kind of an account manager to kind of help keep the trains moving. Because my clients, again, are my bread and butter, and I want to make sure that I'm taking care of them. So, again, outsourcing some of the admin work is how I'm going to do that. So I have, and this is kind of for a limited time, the messy Ask Me Anything strategy sessions. They're 60 minutes and they're going to be for $200. And that's really like, you and I are going to jump on a Zoom and you're going to ask me whatever it is that you want to ask me about your marketing. We're going to deep dive into things for 60 minutes, and then you're going to get the notes and the action items that we talk about. And I'll give you recommendations, all that kind of fun stuff. There is the 90-minute strategy deep dive, and that comes with like follow-up strategy. So like whether that's content ideas, whether that's these are the actions that you should take, whether that's deep diving into your audience and coming up with content pillars, all of those kind of things, like any sort of strategy document that you want would fall under this 90-minute strategy deep dive. That is $4.99 right now. The price will be going up after the new year because I've found that clients just want a little bit more with those. They want more kind of follow up, and usually they come with like 2 to 3 weeks of opportunity to follow up with me via Slack or Boxer or whatever your preferred method of conversation is. And then I leaned into consulting this year, and so I rethought my offer into a 4-month strategy intensive. That is kind of beta pricing. The price will go up probably after the new year. But you get 2 calls per month with me, 2 60-minute calls to tackle messaging, audits, content optimization, content calendars, anything that you need. They're super customizable to each client. And you also get added to your own Slack channel, so you can always follow up with questions, content review, et cetera, all that kind of fun stuff. Um, phew, oh, sneezing. And then I'm bringing back my master class. I kind of rethought it. The first one was very social media focused, but I found it. I don't know. I learned some lessons and I built some systems, and we're going to do it again, but it's going to be similar to the strategy intensive, but in a group setting. And it's only going to be 6 weeks long instead of 4 months. And so we'll meet weekly, every other week. Weekly? I forget. I forget the details, but I will have the details on a landing page for you to, if you're interested, you'll have the opportunity to join it. It's probably going to launch the week of the 15th, so I will have a wait list to start. But the week of the 15th, it'll launch, and then if you register by the 31st, you'll get special pricing for that. So, I will also, anyone can book a 30-minute call with me, and I'm happy to talk marketing, help you work through some stuff if you have questions, or if you are interested in working with me. That is how you would get started. So this is a little bit faster because I didn't have the questions. So I thank you for rewatching. And if you have any questions to follow up here, feel free to shoot me an email, drop me a comment, and I will get back to you. Happy holiday season to everyone watching the replay. I wish you a joyful and merryful holiday season and a successful 2026. And hopefully, if you're watching this, I get to work with you in 2026 and help you kind of get some clarity and remove the overwhelm of marketing, because I know that is the goal of all of us business owners. So until next time, stay connected with me on Instagram at Heidi Schmidt Creative. I haven't been posting as regularly. That's about to be fixed, but I am always checking my DMs. I'm always engaged. So yeah, until next time.